Coming up on True Friend with Cory Montell Scott.
First of all, because I worked with Candy Burris, and I was like, I don't do reality shows because y'all trying to find out some stuff about Tyler Perry, and I ain't doing it.
Oh, God.
They put the mic on me. I said, oh, no. Bravo. I said, no, because I know that y'all trying to be sneaky, and you ain't getting me in no trouble.
If you need a helping hand, let me tell you about a friend. He won't switch up on you, he'll love you through and through. In your time of need, he'll be a true friend indeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of True Friend with Cory Montell Scott. Now, if you want to stay up to date on future episodes, make sure you click that subscribe button down below. I'm telling you, since I started this podcast, the guests that I've been able to have on have been so many full circle moments, life-changing even, and this guest definitely fits those words. She is a vocalist. She is an actress. It's hard to believe that someone could do both things so well that one is not greater than the other, but she acts at the same level of perfection that she sings. I would call her a legend. She's formerly a singer of the S.O.S band, lead singer of the S.O.S band, and she's done so many other things. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome to the show, Miss Chandra Currelley.
Hello, Cory.
Listen, Miss Chandra, it is so nice to have you on here. I have so many things to ask you. I'm looking forward to everything that you're going to have to offer. I'm going to start the show off with this. I always ask a question. I like to let each guest say who they are in their own words. I'm going to ask you, who is Chandra Currelley, and how would you define yourself to someone who has never met or heard of you before?
She's a mother. She's a wife. She's a daughter. She's an artist who creates through her singing and through her being an actress and through her writing.
If you don't recognize Miss Chandra, most of her work was done with Tyler Perry, but I don't like to limit her to just her work that she did with the phenomenal Mr. Tyler Perry. She is a respected recording artist. Very soon, I think in a couple years, you'll be hitting 40 years in the music industry. And your longevity is mind-boggling, how you've been able to stay in the forefront of our televisions and for people like me, our radios for all these years. Miss Chandra, what was your upbringing like?
I'm my mother, a single mother. I had a single mother. And it was one of those households full of music, full of love. And she always said that I could do whatever I wanted to do as long as I tried to achieve the best of myself. And so I was always encouraged, no matter what I decided to do, when I was in the band or when I was singing or when I was drawing, because at one point I thought I was going to be a commercial artist because I loved to draw and paint. And so whatever I wanted to do, I always had that support.
So many people have that story growing up in a single mother household. I'm a product of a single mother household.
Yes.
I grew up in a household with a one sibling, even though I have multiple siblings that I've met over the years. Praise God. I have about 9 of them, Miss Chandra. It's a lot of us. And so, but I grew up, I grew up with just one. And let me tell you, the things that my mother did and sacrificed just so we could survive, or even so that I could do the things that I'm doing right now.
Exactly.
Has made me the father that I am. There's nothing that I wouldn't do for my children.
Awesome. Because we pour in everything into, our kids. We pour in the goodness, the understanding, the patience, because they're watching us.
You're right. And they'll do what we do before they do what we say.
There you go.
You're right.
There you go.
So, Miss Chandra, where do I even begin? So you actually started out, and I was surprised to hear this in my preparing for the interview that you actually started out acting and singing came later.
Yeah.
Because if you've ever heard Miss Chandra sing, she's a singer of excellence. I'm going to tell you this story. I didn't even plan on telling this. One night I fell asleep watching BET Plus, and Laugh to Keep from Crying came on. And I've seen the play. But in my sleep, you were singing the title song. And in my sleep, I'm going, God, her perfection to each note is just remarkable. I've never heard you have a sour note. And so I'm just listening to it, and I'm just like, her articulation with the little vocal melismas, all that stuff, because I'm a vocal teacher. So that's the stuff that I listen for. So in my sleep, you were blessing me in my sleep. And I'm just like, so talk to us about that. Growing up, you mentioned that you were raised by a single mother.
Yes.
How important was music in that, if at all?
Very, because I think part of the reason why I do so many different things was because it was all kind of different kind of music in my house. I mean, my mother had like soundtracks of movies, jazz, blues, R&B, and I grew up just liking all kinds of music. So it wasn't one of those type of things where we just listen to a particular genre in my home, and so that's why I have such a broad spectrum as far as even when I'm singing and doing my concerts. I always put music in that people don't expect me to do, and exposure made it easy for me to be able to move from one genre to another. So I was able to, do R&B and gospel. I was able to do jazz. But at all those points, the people I were around were the masters. And that's why, at one point, sometimes people do a lot of different kinds of music, but can you do it legitimately? That's the thing. Can you really convince somebody that's what it is that you're doing? Because they'll know the difference, And so if you come from a sincere place, then you won't have a problem. Until you're trying to emulate something, be it. And that's when the actress part comes in. Because I started out acting. As a matter of fact, my mentors were Samuel L. Jackson and LaTanya Richardson. And so that's what I mean by God always surrounded me with greatness. So I was just around these people. They weren't even who they are now. But God knew needed those people around me because I wouldn't have gotten it any other way. You see, with my background. And so I was connected to that. And so the standard was high. And so as they say in the old people say, from the get-go. So if you get the truth from the beginning, it's not hard. You don't have to relearn things that you've created bad habits of. So they taught me good habits early.
That's incredible. Samuel L. Jackson and LaTanya Richardson. If y'all just not finding out that they're married, shame on you. But
right, because she was actually my high school drummer teacher.
Wow.
And they weren't really married then; they were engaged or whatever. And but he was always very respectful. Sam was, but she was the vessel, actually, where I was getting everything from. And he was, and I was just hanging around her because I'm an only child. So when you're the only child, you have this void. I always got room for a sister, a brother, or auntie, or and she kind of took me in, and I just was hanging around, and she, I probably was bugging her, but she saw something special. I think she thought she saw something special, and I was hanging around her so much, and they had a theater company, and she said, no, he said one day, I'll pay for her workshop, her theater workshop, because there was another friend of mine, a guy we was just hanging around them. He was like, you pay for him, I'll pay for her. And that was the first time that I got a chance to step into the real theater world. And I was very young. Everybody else were, adults, people who had studied theater. But they were like, we're just not going to have you out here like, you're going to know what you're doing, you know? So I did a lot of, per se, as they call legit theater, American theater. And when I met Tyler Perry, I was doing a show called Sophisticated Ladies. And he had come to see another singer that was in the show. And he came backstage and he said he was a playwright. And he was about, I don't know, 25 years old, something, tall, lanky guy, just really humble. And it was just the way he approached me. And I said, okay, I'll read it. I'll read it. And at the time, the name of the play was I Know I've Been Changed. And it was something about the fact that he had a message in what he was in his stories. It was deeper. And at that time, I was ready to, I guess, integrate me as an artist and me and my spirit man. And I wanted whatever I was doing to reflect that. And when I read his play, I was like, wow, this is where I am. Where I'm not just doing something, because American theater was just like fantasy, whatever, you know what I mean? And it was somebody else's story. And I saw us. I saw my uncles. I saw, the aunties, the big mamas, and I wasn't doing that kind of work. And there was a connection there. And I read it and I was like, this guy got to know what he's doing. I could see it. It was on paper, but I could see the people. I could hear the inflections and all that. And it's history. It's history now. Yeah.
I mean, and now we're looking at a very, very successful Black man who has paved the way for other very, very successful Black people. A lot of people got their start in their starring role with Mr. Tyler Perry.
Yes.
I think that's fantastic, though, how you saw through the Tyler Perry before he was the Tyler Perry that we know right now, with his name all across that building, that beautiful Army base.
Yes.
And that you were faithful to the vision and the dream that he had. I want to, normally I ask this about musicians. I'm going to do it about both artists and actors. I want you to give me a Mount Rushmore. So that's going to be 4. Normally I do a Mount Rushmore plus 1, but I ain't going to put too much on you today. 4 musicians or artists or singers, and do the same thing for actors and actresses, who you would put on your Mount Rushmore for each.
Wow. Okay. So acting, it would be Cicely Tyson. It would be Sidney Poitier. It would be... I'm trying to think of, because I want to make sure I mix them up in there. Abby Lincoln, who a lot of people don't call her name, but she was beautiful. She was a beautiful actress. Let's see, Ossie Davis, Ruby Dee. Music, Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, Miles Davis, Wes Montgomery, Leontine Price.
Oh my goodness. I mean, what a smorgasbord. If my wife was here to hear you say that last one, because my wife is an opera major. She would go through the roof.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yes. So that's what she does. And so she loves her. And I was actually able to introduce my wife to Denise Graves as the artist. So she had never heard of her. And so to see someone who had that same complex, my wife was one who, she's Black, but a lot of our people didn't know how to place her because of the style of music that she sung from.
Yes.
They felt like it wasn't soulful enough. I'm like, no, you can bridge the gap. So I just love that. I would add you on both of my Mount Rushmores. Just from an actress, I watch your choices in the same way that I watch Angela Bassett and I watch Cicely Tyson. I watch your choices. I mean, I don't consider myself an actor just yet, but when I've had to
But just the fact that you said choices, because there are people who are acting who don't even know they're making choices. I'm just saying, now that I'm doing film, I see that more. Theater, was like totally different. You know what I mean? It's like kind of hard to hide in film. Stage. But it's like on film, people could just look great. And, as long as they can talk, people are like, okay. But the fact that you said choices, because it really is all about the choices.
That's exactly what it is. I have a theater background to a degree. And the role that whooped my butt the most was playing Walter Lee Younger in Raising in the Sun. And I was a kid then. And I was maybe 15 then. And since I've become a husband and a father, I've always said, if that role ever comes back around to me, I'm going to give it everything I got because I understand now. So outside of the roles that you're most known for, you also starred in the 1995 Apollo revival of The Wiz as Eveline, the Wicked Witch of the West. And you also portrayed the legendary Dinah Washington. But Miss Chandra, I want to know, what is your dream role, if any?
It's funny you said that. Because my dream role, I'm not trying to get deep, but I guess mother, that's probably number one. I wanted to nurture and my experiences bring to somebody else. And I was able to do that. So that was my dream role. Now, it's interesting you said a Raisin in the Sun because I want to do Mama.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy that you said that. But it is. It is.
Because we've seen so many people, Felicia Rashad, Esther Rolle portrayed Lena Younger. And oh my gosh.
Yeah. And what I love about them, they were all different. And I love the fact that, they created their own Miss Younger. I mean, they created their own. And Felicia Rashad, I just love her. And I knew that she would have to come a different way with it. And it was good. It was good.
it was memorable. It was. Yeah.
Because she has so many different, what do you call it? Dimensions. And that's what you want, a character that can show different dimensions, not just one dimensional. And Walter Lee's the same way. Very, very complex. That's a very complex role to play. So I can understand why you were saying, give me another chance. I totally understand now.
I can put my foot in it now. Before I was just like, what is this? Why not just do right by your family, man? But now
exactly.
Now I get it. I get it. I totally get it.
And so many people, just in life, their intentions are good. And they just go about it maybe the way they shouldn't. Because they're trying to do it, with a shortcut. And then they learn later that there are no shortcuts. And of course, that's what he was doing. He thought he was doing best, but that was a quickie. And then you get caught. And then you get tricked. Because everything you just got to work for.
And I don't mean to get deep, but, even now listening to you say it, there were probably things that I couldn't understand because I didn't have that father figure in my life. My daddy wasn't there. So I didn't know what it looked like to see a man trying and becoming a victim of the way he went about it. And not necessarily his heart or his intentions. Because I didn't have nobody to look up to. In a male perspective of my life, I had to figure those things out on my own when I got married and had kids.
Yes.
So it's a completely different ball game now. But I think that's amazing.
It is amazing. It is amazing. And that's what art is all about. It's about the mirror. It was about the reflections, That's what it's about. It's like when you look in the water, it's about the reflection. And the reflection is you. So what is it that you're looking at? Bottom line.
Even the way you can identify every single degree of a thing, something that I'm most pleased about is your ability to take an artist and identify the things in that artist that makes them great. And then when you're able to apply your own greatness to it. I was just talking to your representative maybe 30 minutes or 40 minutes ago. And he mentioned, he said, have you ever seen Chandra live? And I'll get ready to talk about this in a minute. I've seen you twice in stage plays. And he was saying, well, seeing her as Chandra is a completely other thing. I said, oh, no, I heard her cover of I'm in Love with the Shape of You by Ed Sheeran. And I was just like, who would do this? And this is so perfect. And oh my gosh, because the moment the music started and I realized what it was, I was like, oh, this is perfect for you. You made it a Chandra record. There is one artist, though, because I know you've tributed Phyllis Hyman. There's one artist, and, Miss Chandra, your voice is one of those voices, and I'll say this, I'll come back around to this in a minute, too. It's one of those voices where the moment I hear it, I know exactly who it is. There's not a voice nowhere like Chandra Currelley. But I would love to hear you do a tribute show to Cheryl Lynn. I don't know if you ever thought about that.
That's interesting. I've always loved Cheryl Lynn. Her music just brings joy. It's almost like you hear it. But those are the people that mask. Those are the people that mask. And they're so good at it. But God will use you for your purpose. So it doesn't matter what they're going through. What they're meant to give to us, we get it. And it was the same way with Phyllis Hyman. Regardless of whatever she was going through, her love is in the music. Her purpose is in the music that stand today. So I never thought about Sherilyn, but I always just thought she never got her due. I don't think people get it. I mean, just the tone of her voice, it's just fun already. It's just fun already.
It's going to be right. And look
at you.
Got to Be Real, of course.
Yes.
But what's the other one? Encore. You listen, Encore has Chandra Currelley written all over it.
I love Encore.
It just sounds like something that you could do. I would.
Okay,
man,
I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna start listing.
From my mouth to God's ears.
Because I pay attention, and that's part of being able to be relevant. Is that you listen to people, and that helps your longevity, so that it keeps you relevant. And so I'm paying attention when you say something. I listen to it because I'm like, okay, God, you give me a hint. Because I never thunk. I just never did.
Miss Chandra, I want to play a little game with you. I want to get
I'm not good at games.
This is going to be a good game because don't nobody know Miss Chandra like Miss Chandra. You had an album in 2007 called The Real Me. So I want to play a game called The Real Chandra. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take some of the characters that you're most known for. And I want to know which character are you most like. Are you ready for that? Okay, I'm ready for that. All right. So we have Brenda versus Belinda.
I'm more like Brenda.
Lillian versus Barbara.
Wow, that's a hard one because I got a little piece of both of them. I would say Barbara.
He was hitting you with the B names, Brenda, Belinda, Barbara.
Belinda, Barbara. Yeah, I did. I thought about that one the other day. I was like,
All right, this one is a funny one. I love this one, my favorite. Emma versus Alice.
Oh, shit. Because they said, no, they're not the same people. That's a hard one right there. When it comes to Emma, that's interesting right there. I'm gonna say there are more parts of me probably of Alice than it is Miss Emma. The feisty. My language is not like that, but the zest for life is like that. When I read the script for Alice, I couldn't even believe it. I was like, because that's nothing he's ever given me was like that, But I felt like, oh, so you're giving me this because you can trust me. You can trust me with it. So because it can be, like you say, your choices are very important. So my choice was to not come off mean, but that this is just a way she communicates. But deep down in her heart, it is not real to her. This is more humorous to her. And she doesn't say things just to get people reaction. This is not really how she stands. It's more like, let me say this and see how you go react. It's more like that. Then I'm saying this and I don't care what nobody think. You know what I mean? Instead of having that kind of attitude. So it was all about choices when it came to that. Because I had to figure that one out. I was like, I'm going to play this, And then to get people to, because it shocked people for a minute. Especially my followers. Like, oh, like that. But as it went on, they begin to really like her because they start seeing, you got people like that in your family. Stop trying to pretend, And then they begin to love her. And they couldn't wait to whatever she was going to say next, So yeah, that was an interesting role.
I love it, and you wear it so well. I think that really, if nobody knew it before, that showed your level as an actress.
Somebody thanked me for that. They said, "I'm glad he gave you a real person," and I thought that was interesting. Yeah, I thought the other people were real. Yeah, I thought the other people were real, but that's interesting. Yeah.
You meet them all growing up in the church, but
okay, maybe that's what they're talking about.
All right, the last one.
Okay.
Miss V versus Miss Shirley.
All right. Okay. Miss V versus Miss Shirley. Sure, Miss V. I'm gonna say Shirley. Yeah, that nurturing thing. That belief thing. That when I say at the end, and it just happened while I was on stage. A lot of stuff. The title will give us room to, because after a while, the character does what it does. When you do a play for a certain amount of time, the character begins to live and it begins to do its thing. And one night when I was singing, Heaven Waits for Me, I just began to say, I made it, I made it, I made it. And I remember when I went backstage, Tyler said, you said you made it. Because as a writer, he didn't even think about it like that she would say that's what she's saying. That she was rejoicing in her transition. I made it. I made it, I made it. And it just happened. And that's what she was saying. She was celebrating her journey. And that was a heavy role. It touched so many people. We have to we had to put a pause in the play because when we first did it, we didn't realize that people were having a hard time moving to the next scene. They just wouldn't be there. And then Tyler would just say, he'd come on stage, would be ready for the scene, and he just said, just give it a minute. Just give it a minute. Because the anointing would fall every time. Yep. I've never been in anything like that before.
Madea's Big Happy Family, I was blessed to see it in Columbia, South Carolina, 15 years ago. It was in the middle of a snowstorm. I don't even know if you remember this, but it was snowing in Columbia, South Carolina. And Tyler Perry said that he was still going to do the show.
Yep.
And it was, of course, comical. My main memory of that is walking through the Colonial Life Arena and you were doing sound check. And I have the memory of an elephant. during the sound check, you were doing the bridge. I traded mortal for immortal. That's the part
Right.
that you were doing.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, God, she sounds like herself. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, y'all hurry up and open up the door so I can sit down. We had second row seats. I took my mom with me. And I was still in high school at the time. And it got to that scene. And when you somehow, thanks to the magic of Tyler Perry, got up out that bed and reappeared from stage right, let me tell you something. And it was so phenomenal, and it has stuck with me. I still remember it to this day. That was on a Saturday. I think I went to church the next Sunday, like so inspired by the way that you extended your notes and your vibrato and the way you fell off of your notes. All those things, I was taking it in. People go to these plays and concerts to be entertained. I'm in a master class every time I go and see someone. And
Yes.
you were that teacher for me at that night.
And Cory, that means so much to me because sometimes I just think some of that is lost, And so when I hear that, and I always tell people, that's why I always try to do it right, because you never know who's in the audience. The people think that people don't know, but you'll have somebody out there that knows the difference. So why phone it in? Why take the chance? And that made me feel so good to hear you say that, because I know someone's listening. Someone gets it. Someone hears the work, because that's sometimes is a bad thing to say right now because nobody wants to work for it. And, I worked for it, and because I didn't have a choice. That was from the get-go that you do that and you enjoy it because you worked. You know what I mean? And so thank you so much for saying that. That means the world to me.
Absolutely. And it's been that way. I saw you in Mark E. Swinton's Guess Who Showed Up at Dinner.
Yes.
Still, I was on the front row for that one.
Really?
I think a lot of y'all, and I'm saying y'all, because just even staying on the Tyler Perry tip, when I think about Cheryl Pepsi Riley.
Yes.
And even Deatra Hicks.
Oh, yeah.
When I think about y'all and then our other greats, Patti LaBelle, Shaka Khan, Gladys, those people, I don't think y'all fully understand the gravity of what you possess because you live with it every day. But there are people like me. I didn't even plan on going here. There are people like me who are watching just the way that you take your art seriously. I had an iTunes account shut down trying to buy The Real Me and love songs because I know I didn't have the money. I was in high school.
What?
I was like, well, before they shut down this account, let me buy these Chandra Currelley albums. And
oh, my goodness. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's awesome.
That was so long ago. And I really meant that because I was in the process of bootlegging CDs back then too. And I was like, no, I want to buy these. And so and so I'm a fan through and through of what you give to the music industry. All of those albums that I just mentioned, though, your projects, even the relationships in 2012, all those albums are heavily jazz influenced. What is your take? We have some artists like, I don't know how to pronounce this young lady's name, La Fay, but then there's Samara Joy, who's a very good thing right now. What is your take on the current state of jazz music and what that looks like in today's music industry?
Well, of course, it always, evolves. So we have something called smooth jazz, and that seems to be very popular. And it'll always be a part of jazz that they have to kind of, I won't say dumb down, but I will say dumb down, but just bring people to, where they are. Jazz music it's almost like not like any other genre because it was created from a people of oppression, and it was a way of expression. That's why is about improvisation, improving. And so it is from the heart and mind that you're creating, like from the origin, from its conception. It's not preconceived. So it's different than anything else. So it's always people trying to figure out where they fit in each generation. It's like, so what is my voice in this generation when it comes to jazz? And then you get somebody like Samora Joy that is channeling those singers in the past when it was about tone and, and technique and improvisation and being free. But you also have to have the chops to be free. You just can't do anything. You gotta know what you're doing. And then you'll have somebody like that come in this generation to introduce them to that. And that's how I look at her as being. Because there are some, but there are not many. Because it's always the sign of the time. So we're in a time now where there's a lot of mediocrity. So they're not, if you understand what I mean, so it won't be a lot of them at this particular time. But people like Samara will be able to introduce the next generation of creators, this music, and then they'll put and hopefully they'll understand the danger of mediocrity. Because if we don't have a standard, then it can't serve its purpose because it has a purpose. And my thing about jazz, most people can sing, they can sing jazz, they can sing anything. A lot of people that can sing all the other stuff can't sing jazz. And the same way with musicians. All those musicians back in the day, they could play all kind of music, and they would go out and play with R&B artists and so whatever, and then they'll go to the jazz clubs to get it all out, Let me do what I really do, and release it, because it's almost like releasing emotions. It is another form of spirituality in jazz. It's about truth. And so again, we're dealing with the signs of the times. And truth is not a popular thing right now. So the artist is always going to reflect where we are as people. It would always. And it's about personalities. And jazz has never been about personalities.
I want to ask you this question before we close up. What's next for Ms. Chandra Currelley? I saw that you you completed a film recently with this feels funny saying this is still a sore topic for me. The late great Angie Stone. And I don't know if you even know this. Her mom passed 3 years ago. They played that song as the family went in. Heaven Waits for Me. I'm not sure if you even knew that.
No,
but yeah, she's a Columbia, South Carolina native.
I
so
know.
When they had her mother's funeral, that's the song that the family walked in on. She cried her tears for her mother to that song. So I want to know if you can kind of put those two things together, what it was like working with her, and also what other projects you have coming up, Ms. Chandra.
The thing about Angie is that she was called before this tragedy. Didn't know it was going to go like this, but there was an urgency that she felt. And that's why she began to do her lives. She began to talk about her life. Her attitude was totally different. She felt an urgency. She didn't know why, but now we know what the urgency was about. She was very determined to connect with her spiritual man, and she was determined to let people know that she loved God and that she had a relationship with God. And, I look back on it and it's just, we never know. And so we don't wait. We don't wait to tell our story. And that's the thing. And whenever I was around her, she was kind. And I look at the pictures and how she would look at me. I wasn't even thinking about her looking at me like she would look at me a certain kind of way. And I was like, I didn't really even get that when she was looking at me. It's almost like looking at a mother figure. That's the way she was. That's where in her eyes, it just, and I was looking at the pictures when she passed. I went back and I posted them. I was like, that's so interesting. I didn't even get that when we were talking, And I remember someone coming up to me and they saying, and this was early on, and I hadn't even met her yet. And I was somewhere, and they said, because she was doing the R&B thing, that
Divas.
reality show.
R&B Divas.
And they said that she had recommended me to be one of the people. And I was like, really? And I just thought it was a joke. I just don't do that, And our paths were just, first of all, because I worked with Candy Burris, and I was like, I don't do reality shows because y'all trying to find out some stuff about Tyler Perry, and I ain't doing it. Yeah.
Oh, God.
They put the mic on me. I said, oh, no. Bravo. I said, no, because I know that y'all trying to be sneaky, and you ain't getting me in no trouble. Though I don't have to worry about that, but I know they would have picked something, just to, and then chop it up and edit it. And then Tyler been like, what? But what I have coming up next is, I have a residency in Atlanta every second Friday at a place called The Perfect Note, Atlanta. And so next Friday, which is April 11th, I'm doing a tribute to, because it's so much, Cory, I'm doing a tribute to Roy Ayers and Al Jarreau. Now, Roy Ayers is another mentor of mine. He took me in. He took me on the road. I lived with him. He clothed me for the stage. I mean, he taught me so many things. I met Phyllis Hyman with him. I met Anita Baker with him. I met Grover Washington Jr. with him. I met Betty Carter with him. He was so much to me, and I didn't even realize how much he was to me when he passed. And I was just, a lot of who I am as a singer, a vocalist, he has a lot to do with that. Al Jarreau has a influence on me because when I heard him, I was just like, wow, you got your own voice. I don't have to scat like Ella Fitzgerald. Even though I shouldn't do this, he's getting do that. I can do that, but that's her. That's not me. So that I had to do it for Roy. So I said, I'm gonna do it for Al Jarreau. 2 men, right? And what woman does that? But there you go. But I'm getting ready to do that show, and then I want to work on a one woman show based on my life. Yeah,
we need that. Like right now, even why my pastor is gonna watch this and he gonna say, "You prophesied that whole interview." I don't even proclaim to be that because we have enough of them. You keep using the get-go, from the get-go. Yes. I would love to read a book by you called From the Get-Go. I don't know what that does to you. But
you keep putting stuff in the atmosphere. You see what you're doing.
Now, my wife is a book editor. Shameless plug. That's what my wife does. She writes Christian novels. That's something different, ain't it? But no. So if you ever write a book, that's what she does. That's her business.
Really? Okay. Well, after this, we're gonna stay connected anyway. This is just our introduction.
Miss Chandra, you have been fantastic. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, talking about your life and your amazing career. I think this is only the beginning for you. As someone who was one of those little nappy-headed boys getting the bootlegs from the barbershop. Yeah, I heard Terrell mention that. That's me too. And so I think it's only the beginning. Your voice has not changed. It's only gotten better.
Thank you.
And so I'm so looking forward to all that Chandra Currelley will do.